Hello everyone, and welcome to my course on language stimulation. I wanted to start out with a quick introduction and give you a little information about myself and why I created this course. So first off, I am a certified speech-language pathologist, and I do specialize in working with the pediatric population. I have been working in a private practice setting since my first job after graduating, and I was able to start my own private practice in the beginning of 2021. One benefit of working in a private practice setting all of these years is that it has given me the opportunity to work closely with not only my clients, but their families as well. I gained lots of experience with parent training, and I very quickly witnessed the benefits of it, especially with the pediatric population. Not only do I have experience working with pediatrics and families as a speech therapist, but I also now have a new perspective as a mother myself. I had a daughter in 2019, and since then I've had a whole new point of view when it comes to working with young children and families. After becoming a mother for the first time, I had to reach out to several professionals, including a lactation consultant, an occupational therapist, and I also completed an online sleep training course from a nurse and sleep expert who all made a huge difference in my family's and my daughter's life. I felt such a relief after reaching out to these professionals. Before reaching out for them for help and guidance, I felt stressed, worried, uncertain, confused. I was discouraged. I was nervous. I even tried Googling answers to my concerns. I know that's a terrible idea. I was looking into Facebook groups. I was just asking around. I was trying to basically figure out everything myself before reaching out. However, I don't recommend doing that. So was something wrong with my child? No. But did these professionals give me guidance, helpful tips, and strategies and techniques that I could use to help my child thrive and give me confidence as a mother? Yes. Did reaching out to these professionals make me any less of a mother or mean that I was uneducated? Absolutely not. So my point of this story is that there are professionals that are out there and they're more than ready to help you. And this is what we trained so hard for and we work for every day. If everyone already knew these strategies and techniques that I'm about to teach you today, then my job would not exist. So my hope and reason for starting this course is that I want to be that help for you. I want you to leave this course feeling confident, excited to try new things at home, and relieved to have this guidance on speech and language milestones. So what is language stimulation? Language stimulation are child-centered strategies to promote language development. They are appropriate for all children, not just specifically children who have a speech or language delay. They involve lots of modeling and the use of short, simple phrases. There is never any pressure for the child to provide a response, so the adult never tells or asks the child directly to produce any specific target. Instead, you focus on creating a rich language environment that is based on the child's interests and abilities. This creates the need and many opportunities for the child to talk. They take place during meaningful and naturalistic activities. So a lot of times we teach these so that they can be implemented at the home or at the daycare or when you're out and about with family. They can be used in many different environments, and that's definitely one of the benefits of teaching these strategies is because they are able to learn in many different settings at many different times. Now we will get to look at the two different types of language stimulation. Those two types are general language stimulation and focused language stimulation. So starting with general language stimulation, here there is no specific language target. The overall goal is just to increase language skills in general. So you will modify the physical and linguistic environments to increase opportunities for children to hear adult models of developmentally appropriate language. You're following the child's lead, and the purpose is to tempt the child to talk by following the child's actions and the language that can be used to describe them. And like we just mentioned on the previous slide, there's never any pressure for the child to say anything. We're just giving them the opportunities for language growth and development. Now, focused language stimulation, specific targets are chosen for the child based on their specific needs. For example, your child really needs to improve on answering yes-no questions. So the adult models how to answer yes-no questions and provides opportunities for the child to answer yes-no questions. The language targets are presented frequently in meaningful and functional contexts, and still the child is never required to imitate or say the target form. So the main difference here is that general language stimulation, you are just focusing on language development with no specific target in mind. But focused language stimulation, you do have a specific target in mind, whether or not it's you really want to give them more opportunities to work on yes and no, you really want to give them the opportunity to build their vocabulary. Maybe they still don't have the vocabulary terms for food items or drink items, so you really set up the environment to focus on a specific target, and that's the difference between those two. Now we will look at some evidence-based practice on general language stimulation. So what are these strategies and why do I think that they are so successful? Well, research has shown that they have been successful and they have their benefits. So this is not something that I personally think is beneficial for children or that I think I have seen success in, but there's research out there that proves that these techniques and strategies can improve language development in children. So research has shown that using general language stimulation and focused language stimulation can improve language development in children. There was a study that children in a parent-implemented treatment group that focused on the use of language stimulation techniques made significant gains of child behavior, including words produced, speech intelligibility, and socialization. It also showed a significant reduction in parent stress stemming from the children's improved communication skills. Now we will look at evidence-based practice on focused language stimulation. So there was a study that evaluated a parent-implemented program for parents that focused on teaching parents to use general language stimulation techniques. In addition, the study intervention included a focused stimulation component. such that the parents were given a list of 10 target words to incorporate into their daily activities. So this is where the focus stimulation comes in, because they did have 10 specific targets that they were focusing on. Results of this study revealed that mothers who received the training used significantly fewer words per minute, shorter utterances, and more target words than mothers in the control group. The children of mothers who received the training had significantly larger vocabularies, used a significantly greater number of different words, including target and control words, and produced significantly more multi-word combinations than the children in the control group. Now we will look at the importance of parent training. Within a research article, it states that parents, teachers, or other significant people within the child's environment can be trained to intervene in naturalistic contexts throughout the day. The potential effects of these interventions are perhaps even greater than the observed effects of clinician-administered treatment models, because the techniques can be administered more frequently by the parents or teachers in the functional communication context that the child routinely encounters. So, this is saying that there has been lots of success using parent training or teacher training because the child is with them more often within their more naturalistic setting versus coming to therapy only a few times a week. Another study evaluated the relationship between linguistic input to children and early lexical development. It was found that there was a strong relationship between the children's initial use of words and the most frequently occurring use of these words by their mothers. Now we will look at a few vocabulary terms to review before we get started into the strategies so that you know beforehand some of these terms. So, joint attention is defined as the adult and the child focusing on the same item in the environment. Joint attention is the prerequisite for all subsequent communication, and this is a very important term that you will see used often within the next few slides. Semantics is the study of the meaning of words. An utterance is any vocal expression. It may be made up of words, phrases, or sentences. A morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit of language. So a morpheme can be a single word like dog or cat, but a morpheme can also be something like the plural s or the present progressive ing or the past tense ed. So for example, the word walked would include two morphemes because the child is using the vocabulary term walk and they are using the past tense ed as well. A grammatical marker are termed as morphemes that can change the meaning of a word. Example, the plural s, dog versus dogs. Speech intelligibility is the degree of clarity which one's utterances are understood by the average listener. So for example, I might say the average intelligibility of a 3-year-old is 70%, meaning that a 3-year-old should typically be understood 70% of the time. That would be their speech intelligibility rate. Okay, so now we are ready to learn the techniques. So here is an overview of the techniques that will be taught during this course. We will look at modeling, repetition, parallel talk, self-talk, expansion, extension, sign language and gestures, and closed procedure. The first technique that we are going to look at is modeling. So modeling consists of the adult modeling the correct use of speech and language skills. Modeling of correct use of these skills can and should be used in place of correcting a child's response. For example, a child says, "Dog drink Wawa." The adult says, "Yes, the dog drinks water. He loves water. He's drinking water." So rather than saying, "No, not Wawa, it's water," you're just modeling the correct way. You're modeling the way that they should have said it. You're modeling the grammatically correct way. Another example would be if your child sees a dog walking in the yard and says, "Pup, pup, pup, pup." trying to say puppy, then you could say, yes, it is a puppy. The puppy is outside. So even though they may not be saying the words correctly, or maybe if they even use an incorrect term, we're not using any negatives. We are just modeling back the way that they should have said it. Another way you can use modeling is modeling how to answer questions. Children need to hear how questions should be answered first before they are able to do it on their own. For example, an adult asks, "Do you want this juice?" And the child gives no response, so the adult sits the juice in front of the child, but then the child knocks the juice off the table. So here we're going to model what they could have and should have said, which is no, no juice. Modeling can be used to teach children how to answer questions such as what is your name or how old are you. So think of this modeling as answering for them. You're either answering for them when they do not provide a response, or you are answering for them by correcting the way that they should have said it in the first place. You have sheep, baby sheep, mama sheep. The sheep is jumping. The sheep is jumping high. Wow. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. Bye-bye, sheep. Bye-bye, sheep. Cow, jump, jump, jump. Okay. Jump, cow, jump. The cow is jumping. The cow is jumping on the mat. 2 cows jumping. Ready, jump. Jump, 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 jump. Cow, jump. Ready. Jump, jump, jump. The next technique that we are going to look at is repetition. So repetition is the adult modeling the language target multiple times. And that is the key word there, multiple times. The more exposures of the language target the child hears, the more likely they will learn that target. For example, take the example from the previous slide about the dog drinking water. The adult used the correct use of water 3 times. It is also helpful to use gestures such as pointing to the target while repeating. Yes, the dog drinks water. He loves water. He's drinking water. So if the child does not know the term water yet, he's hearing it multiple times, and he's also hearing the term while you're pointing to it. So we have that joint intention there that the child is looking at the water when he hears the term water. And he's not only hearing it once, but he's hearing it several times to increase the likelihood of him learning that term. This is a great technique to use when teaching new vocabulary. So if you notice that your child knows several animal names, but while visiting a farm, he sees a chicken and says, duck. So at this point, that cues you that, okay, maybe my child doesn't know the term chicken yet, or at least doesn't know it consistently. So this is an opportunity to model that term using repetition. So while pointing to the chicken together, you can say, that's a chicken. A chicken lives on a farm. Do you see the chicken? There goes the chicken. Bye, chicken. So, like I mentioned earlier, the more exposures, the more likelihood that they will learn it. And that's why repetition is so important and can be so successful. Girl fell down. What else do we have? A cat. That's a fox, but that's a good try. Fox. It's a fox. Fox up, fox up, fox down. Ready? Fox. Fox. Fox, fox, fox. Here comes the fox. Here comes the fox. Fox, 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 fox. Here comes the fox. Here comes the fox. Yay! A Down. Oh no. What else do we have? Thank you. Harlan got the animals and the food. Animals, food. Good job. Now we will look at our next strategy, self-talk. So self-talk is when you describe your own actions as you engage in parallel play with the child. For example, if the child is building blocks, you copy the tower with your own blocks while saying, I'm building. I'm building with blocks. Do you see my blocks? I'm building. So we model how to comment on our actions with language. Think of it as narrating what you are doing. In the next video, you will see an example of this being used with a farm. Pig, go up, 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 down.
Oh no. Up,
Down. Oh no, pig. Our next strategy that we will be talking about is parallel talk. So here, this is different than self-talk because now we are describing the child's actions as you engage in parallel play with the child. You're providing self-talk, but for the child. So you're talking about the child's focus of attention. You're narrating what the child is doing. So even if you're playing with the farm and you have the pigs and the chickens, but you see that your child is playing with the tractor, using parallel talk, you are going to describe and talk about what the child is doing, not what you are doing. So if the child's focus is on the tractor and they are driving it around, you might say something like, look, you have the tractor. You're driving the tractor. The tractor is big. Another example, while playing with blocks, you might say, you're building. You put on a block. You did it again. You put on another block. Now it's big. You're building a big one. So in the next video, you will see another example using the farm, but here we will be using parallel talk. Pig. Go in, pig. Pig, go in. Uh-oh, pig fell down. Oops. Try again. Pig, go in. Yay! Pig is in. Let's get more. Donkey? That's a donkey.
a donkey.
A donkey.
Right.
Where is the donkey going to go? He's in. Donkey's in. Bye, donkey. And we're closing the door. Donkey went in. So now that we've learned about self-talk and parallel talk, the question is, which one do we use and when do we use them? So this all depends on the child's focus of attention. If the child is focusing on what you are doing, then you will use parallel talk. If the child is focusing on what they are doing, you will use self-talk. You follow the child's lead by watching what they are attending to. For example, you are playing with farm animals together and you are using parallel talk to describe your actions. I have the cow. He's going in the barn. He's in. However, you look over and notice that your child is now attending to a car and is driving it around on the floor. So, do you keep talking about the farm? No. You will follow their lead and you'll begin using self-talk. You found a car. Wow, you were driving so fast. Beep, beep. The next strategy that we will look at is called extension. So, what is extension? Comments that add semantic information to a remark made by the child. So you are taking the child's response and you are adding more semantic information to what they had said. For example, a child says, "Doggy house." The adult says, "Doggy went in his house. He got cold." So the adult adding the information about the dog getting cold, that's why he went in, that's where extension comes in. You're adding more information to what the child said. Another example, the child says ball. The adult says a red ball, or you're holding the ball, it's red. So you're extending the child's utterance, but you're also adding in some more semantic information, which is giving the child the opportunity to pick up on that information and learn new vocabulary and learn how to expand their utterances.
A bear.
A bear. He's a panda bear.
Yeah, panda.
He's black and white.
That's a pig.
That is a pig. He's a pink pig. He likes to play in the mud. The next strategy we will look at is expansion. So expansion is very similar to extension. However, with expansion, you are not adding any new semantic information to the child's utterance. We're taking what the child said and we're adding the grammatical markers and the semantic details that would make it an acceptable adult utterance. So we're not adding any new semantic information. For example, the child put a toy dog in a dollhouse and says, "Doggy house." This could be expanded to, "The doggy is in the house." So instead of just saying doggy, the adult's adding the article the doggy, and the adult is adding is in the house versus just saying doggy house. So the adult is repeating that back to the child and modeling how the sentence could be expanded using appropriate grammar. You can think of expansion as modeling what you think the child is trying to say. For example, you're playing with cars and the child says, "Car broke." You could expand that into, "Oh no, the car is broken." So we know that the child is attempting to say the car is broken, but they just said it with incorrect grammar. So we're going to model the correct way to say it so that it gives them the opportunity to learn how to use that with appropriate grammar. Next, we will look at a slide based on signs and gestures. Using signs and gestures can really help bridge that communication gap between infants, toddlers, and adults. A pediatrician from Michigan State University reports that most babies have the physical dexterity and cognitive ability to learn some form of sign language as early as 8 months, and teaching signs can begin as early as 6 months old. Baby signing is defined as the use of American Sign Language, but with modifications such as adjusting signing space, signing size, and sign duration or length to emphasize a sign or a word. So basically, we are taking the American Sign Language sign and we are modifying it to make it simpler for the child to use since they do not have very advanced fine motor skills when they are young. Research that was conducted in 2000 revealed that children who received sign training showed higher receptive and expressive language outcomes than children who received no intervention. Another research study in 2006 determined that children's inventories of gestures and consonants at 12 to 15 months of age correlated highly with their inventories of words at 18 to 20 months of age. Signs and gestures have been found to be short-lived, disappearing as children begin to use spoken words and language. So this is saying that the child will typically start using the word with a sign. For example, say you teach your child to use the sign more when they are between 8 and 12 months old. Typically, they will learn to use the sign more. They will use that sign for a while, and then eventually that sign will fade out, and they will begin to use the word to verbally ask for more. So we're going to be talking about the process of teaching sign language, teaching baby signs, and this one specifically we're going to be talking about the sign help. And you follow the same process for teaching all signs, but this is just a specific one that I'm talking about today. So first thing first is you want to start modeling the use of the word and the use of the sign
pretty early on. As early as 6 months, you can start just modeling the word help. So if you see your child crying because they dropped their passy, you might say, "Do you need help? I'll help you," and you give them their passy. Or if you see your child whining because they want something up high that they can't reach, you could say, "Do you need help? I'll help you get it." And so you're going to model the word, you're modeling the sign at the same time that you're saying the word, and just try to get in the habit of doing this consistently. Every time you notice that they need help, you want to respond with modeling what they should do. "Oh, you need help. Okay, I'll help you." Try to make it a positive thing. We never want them to feel pressured that they have to sign or that they have to ask for it before we know that they can actually do it. So your number one thing that we're going to do first is model a lot. Number two is you're going to start doing hand over hand. So if you see your child drop their passy and they start to cry, you may say, "Do you need help?" And you're going to take their hands. "Do you need help?" And you're going to have them do the sign. You're going to help them make the sign. Now, when they're younger, it's going to be difficult for them to do the perfect fine motor skill for this, and that's okay. Anything that is similar, they may start off like this, and as they get older, you'll be able to shape their sign into more consistent fine motor skills, and that's perfectly fine. So hand over hand, do that for a while. Next step is to just give them a verbal cue and wait to see what happens. So after you've done hand over hand for a while, you may think, "Okay, I think they may start picking this up." So you see your child drop something and they start to whine. You may say, "Do you need help? Do you need help?" And you're going to wait, see if they respond. If they don't, that's okay. Just hand over hand and give them whatever they dropped. And then you're going to want to continue to follow those steps. Keep giving them wait time, giving them a chance to do the sign by themselves. And if they do, wonderful. If they don't, just hand over hand. The ultimate goal is that you will not have to give a verbal cue or a hand over hand, but your child needs help with something, they look at you and they sign for help. After that, we're hoping that they're going to bridge that gap from signing to actually start to say help. Because every time you're signing help, every time they're signing help, they're hearing the word help, help. And eventually, once they learn how to say the word, they won't have to use the sign anymore.
Do you want more? More. There you go. More. More. Good job. Do you want more? Very good. Yay! Harlan Jane, was that good spaghetti? Are you all done? Yay! Yay! What? You need help? Okay. What else do we have in here? Should we get more? More. Okay. What about a xylophone? Harlan's turn. Wow. Harlan. Our next slide is focused on something called close procedure. So what is close procedure? Close procedure is when the adult supplies part of an utterance that is to be completed by the child. So here are some examples of how you could use close procedure. You can leave off the last word of a phrase or a sentence in hopes that the child will finish it. For example, ready, set, in hopes that the child will say go. You can prompt a label. So say you're reading a book about farm animals and you point to a cow. You say, "This is a," and you wait to see if the child will finish and say cow. You can prompt a description. So say you have a ball, you could say, this ball is so, in hopes that they'll say big or the color. You can prompt an interpretation. So say you read a story about a bird and you say, this bird flew away because he was happy or because he was ready to go home. You can also use what's called an initial phoneme cue, and this can be used very easily along with closed procedure. This is something that I use all the time and I have a lot of success with. Initial phoneme cue is where you provide the first sound of the word that you are trying to elicit. So take that example from earlier, ready, set, go. Here you would give the child the initial sound of go by saying ready, set, g, and see if they finish and say go. So you can see an example of using closed procedure in a video on the next few slides. Set, go. Ready, set, go. Yay! What about the dog? Woof, woof. Up, up, up. Down. Look, Harlan. What about the pig?
Yay!
Up, up, down. Oh, dog is down. Pig up.
I book.
I book.
I book.
Ready? I. My eyes, his eyes, his. Wink eye, pink eye, pink. My eyes see, his eyes.
See.
I see him and he sees
Me.
our eyes see blue, our eyes see,
Bird.
they see a,
Bird.
they see a,
Bird.
they see the,
Sun.
they see the,
Moon.
they see a fork, a knife, a,
Boom.
they see a girl, they see a,
Man.
they see a boy, a horse, an old tin.
Cake.
They look down holes, they look up.
Pose.
Our eyes see trees, they look at,
Cup.
they look at,
Bee.
they look at.
Soak.
Our eyes see flies, our eyes see,
At.
sometimes they see pink under.
Paint.
Our eyes see rings, our eyes see,
Wings.
they see so many, many things. Things like,
Wings.
and,
Paint.
and,
Dog.
and airplanes in the,
Kite.
and so we say, hooray for eyes, hooray, hooray, hooray for, yay! Let's sing ABCs. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, Q, R, T, U, W, Y, and now I know my A, B. Next time, won't you sing with
Me.
Yay! That was beautiful. It's a
Zebra.
zebra. Very good. There's a zebra. Hi, zebra. Next we have a
Dog.
dog. He says, woof, woof. And you can put the dog on. Let's get some more animals. This one is slow. He is a
Turtle.
turtle. He has a shell and he's green. In the next slide, we will learn what's called errorless learning. The goal of errorless learning is to create a learning environment that minimizes or eliminates errors that's made by the learner. So here we are giving the child correct information without the need to process any external information. We're trying to avoid the trial and error learning experience because errors can lead to memory traces that create incorrect learning. And research has shown that it has been successful for facilitating language among children. So we're trying our best to prevent the child from giving a wrong answer. Now, in all reality, this is not going to be able to happen all of the time, 100% of the time. You're not going to be able to prevent them from making errors all the time. So here we're just trying to do this as much as we can. So here's an example. You are trying to teach your child to answer the question, "What is your name?" And you see your child starting to put their lips together to say mama. But before we let the child answer incorrectly and say mama, we're going to give them the right answer. So let's use my daughter's name, Harlan, as an example. I say, "What is your name?" And I see her start to put her lips together and say, I'm going to interrupt her immediately and say, "Harlan, that's your name, Harlan." And then I can model it again. "What's your name?" "Harlan." So I'm trying to prevent her from answering incorrectly. And by doing that, I'm giving her the correct answer. Here's another example that you can use to work on receptive language. So say you have several toy farm animals on the ground and you say, "Give me the cow, please." But the child starts to reach for the pig. Well, before you let them get the pig and get the wrong animal, you're going to point to the cow to give them a hint where the correct answer is. You can even take the pig away. So now they don't have a choice but to answer correctly, because when you say, "Give me the cow," the only animal that's left to grab is the cow. So that way they're not making any incorrect choices and they're learning the correct vocabulary term for that cow. Because if you ask the child to "Give me the cow" and then grab the pig, they're making an incorrect connection there. In the next video, you will see an example of how to use errorless learning when teaching your child how to answer the question, "What is your name?" Hi, so today I wanted to talk about the topic of teaching your children to answer questions. And this strategy that I'm going to talk about today can be used to answer a variety of different questions. It can be used for WH questions, yes and no questions, but the one that I'm going to model today, a very common question that children need to know is, "What is your name?" So the strategy that I'm teaching today is answering for them. You're going to model the correct response of the question. So basically, you're going to be answering the question for them several times, modeling the way that they should be answering before you wait and see if they can give you the correct response. So modeling is one of the most important and best strategies to use when it comes to teaching language, because you need to model how they should be doing it first before you can expect them to actually be able to do it. So for this, this is my model client for today, and we are going to just say that her name is Harlan, which is my child's name. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I have my child's attention before I start speaking to her. So if she's playing with blocks or if she's watching TV, I'm going to make sure that I have her full joint attention before I start this. So I have her attention. Now I'm going to ask her the question, "What is your name?" And I'm going to answer, "Harlan." And I'm going to do that several times. What is your name? Harlan. Yay! What's your name? Harlan. And yes, several times. Model that multiple times. Once you model that several times, you can then start waiting with anticipation to see if they try to answer, and you can even give them an initial sound cue. So if her name is Harlan, I can say, what's your name? Harlan, and see if she will finish the word once I give her the first sound. After that, you can just use wait time. What's your name? Harlan, in hopes that they will answer. If they don't get to those steps yet, just keep modeling it several times. Another thing you want to do is try to prevent them from answering incorrectly. Now, it's impossible, to completely keep this from happening, and that's understandable, but you want to try your best to prevent it as much as you can. So, for example, if I say, what's your name? And my child says, Mama. Rather than saying, no, it's not Mama, it's Harlan, you can try to model the correct answer before they get the wrong answer out. So if I ask my child, what's your name? And I see her start to say, Ma, I'm going to say, Harlan, yay, it's Harlan. Before she's able to get the wrong answer out, I'm providing her with the right answer. And I'm celebrating, I'm making it a positive experience. I'm not making it a negative experience by saying, no, that's not right. I'm just going to model the right answer. I'm going to keep saying it multiple times, and I'm going to give her the cues, and then eventually I'm going to wait and see if she can say it on her own. And so this can be used for teaching, how old are you? 2. How old are you? 2. How old are you? 2. This can be used for anything, any kind of question. This can be used for simple yes and no questions. If you give your child an apple and you say, do you want an apple? And they don't respond, and so you give them the apple, and then they hit the apple and they scream and they throw it off the table, you can say, okay, let's get the apple back. Do you want the apple? No, no apple. So we're modeling how they should have answered. Do you want the cookie? And they smile and they do this. Yes, I want the cookie. Do you want the cookie? Yes. So model how they should answer several times, and that's going to help them tremendously. So we have officially reviewed all of the language stimulation strategies, but here are some other tips and tricks. So one thing that I also do all the time is set up the environment to help you target whatever you're focusing on. For example, you want your child to learn how to ask for help, whether or not they are learning to ask verbally or use the sign, either way. So while playing with bubbles, you're going to tighten the lid so that they have to ask for help to open it. Another thing you could do is place their desired toy out of reach so that they have to ask for help to get it. So here, rather than, opening the bubbles for them, we are purposefully putting the lid on tight so that they have the opportunity to ask for help. So you give them the bubbles with the tight lid, and you say, here, let's open the bubbles. There you go. And more than likely, they're going to try, and then they're going to look at you like, I need help with this. I can't do it. So at that point, they will either sign for help, or then you have the opportunity to teach them. Oh, you need help? Okay, let's get help. And you can either help them make the sign, or you can continue to just model the word. But that is an example of how you can set up the environment. Another thing you can do is simplify your language. So we want to shoot for using short and simple phrases with children in the infant and toddler ages. This does depend on the child's specific age and language skills. So of course, if you are, modeling for a child under 12 months versus modeling for a child who is closer to 3, your level of language is going to be different. But we do want to avoid using any type of baby talk or any type of telegraphic speech. You do not want to omit any grammatical markers or use improper grammar when you're trying to simplify your speech. So for example, if your child is putting the dog in the house, rather than say dog house, you still want to use those correct grammatical markers. The dog is in. The dog is in the house. So we're still using short and simple speech, but we're also still using correct grammar. Here's another example. Say your child, who typically speaks with one-word utterances, brings you a ball. You may say, "You brought me the ball. That's a big ball." Or, "Do you want to play ball?" So we're still using correct grammar, but we're also using short, simple phrases that they can comprehend and learn from easily. So this next slide is going to be looking at tips for improving speech, articulation, and intelligibility. So a lot of the strategies that we learned previously focused a lot on building language skills. So they did and can also improve speech skills, but here are some more things that you can do to specifically target those speech skills. And when I'm talking about speech versus language, speech skills would be when your child is working on making specific sounds and making them correctly. For example, maybe you notice that your child is saying uh-oh when they are trying to say bubble, and you notice, my child, is having trouble putting their lips together and making the b sound, and B is typically one of the earlier developing sounds. So what can I do to work on that? Here are some ideas. So you want to engage in activities that involve making sounds and simple word shapes, especially for the younger children. For example, making animal sounds. This is a great one because it's a great way to start on speech sounds because they are short, simple word shapes. For example, moo, bak, bak, ba. They are all short and simple and they're easy to imitate. You can make car, truck, train sounds, vroom, vroom, beep, beep. And singing nursery rhymes is also a great one to just start that beginning speech sound development. Another thing to try is placing yourself eye level and face to face with the child when you are speaking so that they can watch your mouth. So take that example that I said earlier about the child having trouble saying bubbles. They are having trouble putting their lips together to make the B sound. So we want to get close face to face, and we want to look at them and say, bubbles, bubbles. That way they can watch our mouth. They can see our lips closing together, and that's going to help them learn how to make the sounds as well. Another example or another thing to try is over-articulate and exaggerate your speech sounds. You could probably tell when I was just saying bubble that I was exaggerating my speech sounds. So you really want to move your lips in big movements so they're seeing what's happening. Bubble. They really can pay attention to, wow, my mom's lips are going together and her mouth is opening and closing. Another thing you can try is practice making different sounds and mouth movements in the mirror. The child is not only seeing and hearing you model the sounds, but then they can also watch themselves this way. So you could look in the mirror together, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be a word, but just copying different movements. So take the kissing sound, for example. You could look in the mirror and you can together go, ah, and they can try it. Your turn. Let's do it again. Ready? Ah. So here they are watching your lips come together and open, and then they can practice doing the same thing. And lip closure is a very important motor movement because it's used for many sounds like B and P and M. Another thing that you can do is using a toy to get your child to look at your face by bringing it next to your mouth when you're saying the word. So like I was saying earlier about getting eye level with the child so that they can watch you say bubble, if you're having a hard time getting them to actually look at your mouth, then take the bubble wand or take the jar of bubbles and hold it up beside your face so that you draw their attention to your lips and then say bubble. So that's another way to help them pay attention to what your mouth is doing. So a question that I have received before and that some of you may be thinking is, well, where do I start? If I do want to target certain words and certain vocabulary, what is a good place to start? What are some good vocabulary terms to start with? And here are some areas that you want to think about. The first one is functional communication. How can I help my child express their wants and needs? And this is considered to me to be one of the most important, because that is something that is going to lead to frustration and lead to bad behavior. If they're not able to tell you what they want and need, that is definitely something we want to start with. So here's some examples. Asking for help, asking for more, being able to say yes or no, all done, finished, and you can finish reading the rest of those. There's a lot listed there. And this can, of course, be specific to each child. One child, it may be very important for them that they can ask for their milk. Another child may not care about milk as much, but it may be very important to them that they can ask for something to eat or their favorite food. It really depends on what your child loves and what your child wants and needs to ask for. Another area that you need to think about is safety. You definitely want your child to not only be able to use these words, but also understand them. For example, stop, wait. These are very important for your child to understand. For example, if they are running towards the road or if they are about to jump off the couch, you want them to be able to know what stop or wait or no means. And it's also important for them to be able to express these words so they can say, I'm hurting, or I'm sick, or my head hurts, or my belly hurts. Another area is social communication. So social skills are definitely very important. We want your child to be able to say hello and goodbye, tell people what their name is, be able to make friends and use manners, be able to understand my turn versus your turn. And another area that you can look at is common vocabulary. So you're looking at animals, transportation, food items, furniture items, feelings, and you can kind of go through the list here and say, my child knows a lot of animals, they know a lot of food items, but I've realized that they don't really know a lot of body part names. So just kind of go through these items, go through the vocabulary, and try to figure out what would be a good place to start. What does my child know? What does my child need to work on? And like I said before, these can be very different for each child, and it really just depends on what your child wants specifically. This next slide, I have listed some example activities of different games, different toys, different activities that you could use to target different areas of language. So feel free to use this list to get some ideas of different things you could target. There are so many language opportunities out there with so many different games and activities. So please don't feel the need to go out and buy these things or to buy specific toys. You can really be so flexible with these strategies. Using a play kitchen with play food items versus just going into the kitchen and looking through the pantry. There's so many opportunities everywhere, regardless if you are at home or if you are in the store. You can make these work anywhere, and that is what is so great about these strategies, is that you don't have to use it with a specific activity. You can be very versatile and use them in so many different environments and in so many different ways. So I will go over the first one. For example, I listed puzzles because puzzles often target different groups of categories. For example, I know they have farm animal puzzles. I've seen animals with zoo. I've seen puzzles with zoo animals. I've seen puzzles with shapes and colors in the alphabet. So there's a lot of opportunity there to talk about vocabulary. But you can also think about different verbs and actions and prepositions that you can talk about. For example, in and out. You take the pieces out, you put the pieces in. You can target yes and no. Does the piece fit here? No. Does it fit here? No. Does it fit here? Yes. If you are using an animal puzzle, you can talk about the sounds. Every time you take the cow out, you can say moo. And every time you take the horse out, you can say neigh. If you're using a puzzle that has different transportation items, you can make the truck sounds and the train sounds, and the airplane can go up and down. And there are really so many opportunities out there to use with so many different activities. Now we will talk about spontaneous learning. And I did talk about this a little bit on the previous slide, how these techniques and strategies can be used in so many different environments. So you do not have to designate time for a specific activity to use these strategies. These strategies can be used in any setting at any time. For example, you are doing dishes at home and your child walks up to you and brings you his empty drink and whines. You may say, "Do you want more juice?" while modeling the sign more. The child still does not respond. They're still whining. They're showing you the cup. So you can take the cup, you can model more, and you can model more juice. I will get you more juice. So you just used the strategies and took this as a learning opportunity while you were doing the dishes. Another example, you are in the grocery store and a child points to the apple and says, "Ball." You take this opportunity to teach the word apple. You use expansion modeling and say, "Apple." See that apple? Apple. We're repeating, we're using modeling, we're using expansion, and we're working on new vocabulary. Another example of something that happened to me recently, my 2-year-old daughter, while driving in the car, I was playing her one of her favorite songs, and she kept saying, "Faster, faster." And I realized that she wanted me to turn it louder. So she was getting the terms faster and louder confused. And so I took the opportunity while driving in the car to work on the word louder. So I didn't, use any negative language and say, "No, that's the wrong word," but I modeled to her what she could have said. So when she said faster, I modeled back, "Louder? You want me to turn it louder? Okay, I'll turn the song loud." And I turned it loud, and she was happy and singing. And then going back to how you can set up the environment, I would turn it back down again and let her use the word again and give her the opportunity to practice again, saying louder. And I would use errorless learning by giving her the word. If I realized that she was going to say the wrong word, I would just model it for her again. "Louder. Let's turn it loud." And I would turn it up. And then we could also model, "Let's turn it quiet." So, this is something that I was using while we were in the vehicle. And I was able to use all of these strategies to take that moment as a learning opportunity. And that is something that is so great about these strategies, is that you will eventually, as you start to use them more often, you will realize that you're going to start using them all the time. And it doesn't have to be something that you have to think about, but the more you use them, the more it will come more naturally to you, and you can realize how many language opportunities are out there in all different settings at all different times. And that brings us to the end of this course. My hope is that you will finish this course feeling more confident and knowledgeable about speech and language stimulation techniques and ways to incorporate them in your everyday setting. I know that being a speech therapist was definitely my calling, and being able to help children and families while doing what I love is a dream. I think becoming a mother myself gave me that extra insight that I needed, and having a whole new perspective is what led me to developing this course. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to help.